Alright, hey guys. This is Adrian here with Art of Transness, and this week we're discussing careers, job interviews, disclosure of your trans status in the job, how that all works. To give a little rundown of my personal history about having jobs and being trans, let's see, I transitioned while at a job, and I changed my name halfway through that job, and I was there for 3 years, and it went really well. And then since working at that job, I've done 2 summer internships and worked at another professional job after I received my Bachelor's of Science in Biology and Chemistry. And so what that looked like for me was at the first internship that I worked at in 2009, I started gender therapy, but I was not out to my employer, and I was still going by female pronouns in my birth name. And that has been a little problematic for me because I'm still using those people as professional references and as letter writers, and I have not disclosed my trans status to them as being male identified because I'm worried of the ramifications of that. And then the second internship that I did a year later in 2010, I was about 6 months on testosterone, and I was actually stealth at that job. My mentor and my PhD supervisor knew me as Adrian, but that was also a problematic situation for me because I actually knew my PhD mentor from Truman. She knew who I was, and so that was a little bit complicated and a little bit stressful. I was pre-op at the time, and it just, that specific internship was really stressful, and when I would come out to people, because I felt like I had to, and they wouldn't believe me. And that was like really, really weird thing for me, was I would sit down with a coworker that I'd been drinking with or whatever, because I only hung out with my coworkers, and we would be drinking, or I'd be like confiding in them, and the trans thing would come up, and we would talk about it, and then later, I would bring it up again, or it would come up, and they would act like they didn't know what I was talking about. That was just really weird for me. Like being stealth and then trying to come out, but people not like even believing that I was trans. It was very weird. It was kind of a flattering experience altogether, but a very weird first time situation for me where I was being read as male exclusively, and when I would come out, people wouldn't believe me. It was just weird. So I graduated from my university, and I got employed by an international pharmaceutical company based out of Sweden called Novartis, and I was employed there through a temp agency that had to do a federal background check because I'd be working with narcotics. And obviously, I have not changed my gender marker on my birth certificate, so the federal background check brings me up as female. And I thought that maybe this was going to be an issue because I interviewed as male, and I thought once they received my federal background check and my application rang up as female that they were going to have some issues with that. And I didn't run into any roadblocks with that. And so not only did I not have to bring it up to the temp agency, I never had to bring it up to my supervisor and my boss at Novartis. And so I was completely stealth at Novartis. Very bizarre, but I liked it. I mean, it was fun. I considered coming out, only because, again, I kept running into people that I knew. I don't know. But it is tough to be stealth at work. And the interview process, again, I don't know how you really interviewed. The internships that I didn't have to interview for. I just submitted an application and had references. And the job that I had at a retail store that I had while I was transitioning, I interviewed for as female when I was like a freshman in college because that's how I was presenting, and I felt like that was going to be something that I was going to chalk up for a loss, interviewing as female, because I knew that once I got the job, I just needed to get the job. And so I kind of did what I needed to do to get the job, and then I dealt with the politics of transitioning at work once I had the job. And unfortunately, that was a sacrifice that I had to make during that job. I'm working with the same temp agency here in St. Louis that I worked for in Omaha, and my biological sex has not been something that has been discussed, and I don't think it's going to be. I just interviewed for a job on Friday, and I was read as male, treated as male, dressed as male, interviewed as male, and I did not have any problems. My advice for the guys who are maybe a little bit ambiguous in their expression, or who are not on testosterone, um, or who are not post-op, is I don't know. Unfortunately, when you go into an interview, you're trying to please the company, and if you're going to be employed by maybe a transphobic company, maybe you need to rethink that. Maybe when you go to apply for jobs, you look at their statement on non-discrimination. Places like Barnes & Noble explicitly state gender expression in their non-discrimination policy. And so if you can gather that information before you go to apply for jobs, it'll better equip you for what you need to do for the interview. And then beyond that, if you are going to end up transitioning at work, I would say what I ended up doing was I asked to speak with my manager in her office, and we sat down, and I just said, hey, listen, this is what's going on with me. I don't really want to get into details, but essentially I'm transitioning from female to male. I would prefer that you use this name with these pronouns if you can. I understand if you slip up, that's fine. And if you would like me to make the announcement to everyone else at like the next door meeting, I can do that. If you want to send a memo out, that's fine. If you want me to write something on the board, that's fine. And so we had this dialogue between us, and we thought it was best for me to announce what was going on with me and my name and my preferred pronouns and what was going to happen at the store meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I just stood up and I said, hey guys, listen, I am medically transitioning. And I always tried to preface it with a joke, and I use the same joke every time. I always try to make it lighthearted, and I use the same joke every time. I use it with professors, I use it with everything. I just said, listen, it's going to sound like I have a cold. Don't worry, I'm not perpetually sick. My voice will be dropping. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn green and Hulk out on you guys because I'm on testosterone. I'm going to be pretty much the same, but just a little few physical differences. But I would prefer that you acknowledge my gender is male, use the correct pronouns, and use my preferred name. And that was pretty much it, plain and simple. And I was transitioning in a very, very small Missouri town, and it worked out fine. But if you are going to be applying in your pre-T, I don't know, and you want to work for a company that doesn't have an explicit non-discrimination policy, and that's really the company that you want to work for, I would consider how badly you want the job, and if you want it really bad, it might be something that you put your gender identity on the back burner for the interview, and that kind of sucks. But that's how it works when you're trying to sell yourself as a commodity to have a purpose in a company. I don't really know if this is the best advice. I'm just trying to think of what to do if you want the job. And that's what happened to me when I applied for this cashier position at this retail store. I wanted the job, and I put my identity on the back burner. I applied as female, I interviewed as female, and then once I got there, I transitioned. So, yeah, there's a lot here. I'm not really sure if I'm giving you good advice. It's just only the advice that I know. But I hope that this helps the younger guys out. The guys who are a little less ambiguous in their expression, or who are being read mainly as male, I encourage you to interview as male. See what happens. And those of us who are post-op, been on T for a long time, I think the path for us is pretty clear. What we need to do, I obviously would never interview as female. I wouldn't in my wildest dreams interview as female. But the road is a little bit bumpy when it comes to you trying to sell yourself to a company. So, but I hope this was useful or beneficial to someone. But I look forward to seeing what the other guys have to say. Alright, I'll see you guys later.